All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We're talking Raiders in tonight's video, one of the most underrated teams in the National Football League. Don't let the 8-9 record fool you. Last season, Josh McDaniels, his 1.5 years with Las Vegas was a complete and utter nightmare. They bring in Antonio Pierce. They officially hire him this year, but more importantly, Antonio Pierce led the Las Vegas Raiders to a 5-4 record as interim head coach last year. They had a top 10 defensive unit to finish off the season, and we saw a lot of flashes from a lot of different players offensively. They followed it up with a great draft. They select a potential all-pro superstar, day one immediate Pro Bowler in Brock Bowers from Georgia. They go JPJ. They go Delmar Glaze. They just are building up these trenches. Guys, the Raiders are so much better than people understand. And it's so funny because every time we say that on this channel, I get all these comments saying, oh, well, give me AOC, give me Aiden O'Connell statistics on the final month of the season. Give me his second half passing statistics. And it's like, dude, I mean, they put up 63 against the Chargers. They took down Kansas City on Christmas Day. And I just hate, like, I understand it. AOC, the offense in general, didn't need to do anything crazy, but you took down the Kansas City Chiefs on Christmas Day. Like, that was the best win of the year. I don't care about the logistics. I don't care about the statistics. I don't care what happened offensively in the second half for them to win that football game. I literally do not care. They took down the Kansas City Chiefs on Christmas Day, and they ruined millions and millions of Kansas City Chiefs fans' Christmas Day, which is all you really could ask for. So we're talking Las Vegas because they actually just made a couple of nice moves. They're going to continue to make more moves as the offseason progresses now that the draft is wrapped up. But welcome back to the channel. We post daily Raiders content over here. Hit that like button, hit that sub button. Appreciate you guys as always. If we're trying to get this video to 250 likes, that would mean the absolute world to me. So like 30 minutes ago, they just picked up Andrus Peat. Andrus Peat to the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, this is more of a depth move. I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if he won the right tackle position. While in New Orleans, Peat was a Pro Bowler who started 102 games. He is 30 years old. He's a lifelong Saint after being selected 13th overall by New Orleans back in 2015. He played left guard his entire career before he switched to LT this season. While he did give up 10 pressures in week 1, he settled in and had combined only 17 in the next 10 games. So once again, more of a bench or a depth player, I should say, for Thayer Munford over at right tackle. But still, you always want offensive line versatility because it's always a when, not if, these guys end up getting banged up and need to miss a game or a couple of games. The move they made earlier today, I really liked it. Jalen Guyton, 4.3540. All right, that's important because the wide receiver room is just very top heavy. When we go to Vegas last year, even with the additions of Brock Bowers, we'll talk about Gallup in just a second here. Davante Adams led the team with over 1,100 receiving yards. Jakobi Meyers, underrated, top 5 underrated wide receiver 2 in the NFL, 807 yards last season. But after that, there was a huge drop off, and the second two leading receivers after Jakobi and Davante were Trey Tucker and Micah Mayer. Those guys only had a little bit over 300 receiving yards, but once again, they were rookies. The reason I like Guyton is because, and honestly, I don't even know if he's going to end up making the roster. We'll see. He's got a chance at it. Wide receiver 1, Davante Adams, right? Jakobi Meyers, wide receiver 2. Trey Tucker has crazy speed. It's just like the offensive tackle room. It's just like the cornerback room, which we'll talk about in just a second. You want as much depth, as much versatility as humanly possible. Trey Tucker has unreal speed. The one thing is, what if he misses a couple of games? What if he gets banged up? So I like going for Jalen, a guy who Tom Telesco has picked up numerous times, coming on over from the Los Angeles Chargers. And then once again, Michael Gallup as wide receiver 4. It was a huge move. You know, Gallup's a guy who you can just rely on to get you at least 400 receiving yards. If Davante's banged up for a game, if Jacoby's banged up for a game, you can feel comfortable that Michael Gallup can at least give you production efficiency, and he's just a great veteran to pick up. So I loved the Michael Gallup pickup, but they did pick up Jalen and Andrus earlier today. And once again, I don't think they're going to be done. We're going to talk about that in just a second. So going back to the misunderstanding of the Las Vegas Raiders, over the second half of the season, last year. They were among the best scoring defenses in the NFL, including a pass rush that averaged over 3 sacks a game. So they bring in Christian Wilkins to the mix through free agency. So now you have one of the best pass rushes in the league, right? We take a look at that defensive line. Maxx Crosby is Maxx Crosby. Christian Wilkins is Christian Wilkins. You can no longer double team freely Maxx Crosby, which you were beginning last year at the end of it. You were like beginning to not be able to double team Maxx Crosby every possession because Malcolm Koonce really broke out in the second half under Antonio Pierce. And then, of course, we can't forget Tyree Wilson, who was more moved into interior defensive line, pick number 7. He dealt with so many injuries. He was coming off an injury at the end of his college career that, you know, in camp, he missed camp. So he comes in for the final preseason game and barely plays. So he's just kind of thrown into the mix. And it took him, you know, pretty much the entire season, excluding the last month of the regular season, to really get going. And once again, he was moved to interior defensive line. So I love the pass rush. I really do. If guys like Tyree Wilson can take that leap this upcoming year, if Jakorian Bennett can take a leap forward, this unit has unbelievable amount of talent and potential. Now, speaking of the defensive back room, both of the safeties, Epps and Moehrig, they're on final years of their contract, but we'll deal with that at a later date. Jack Jones is cornerback 1. Now, I've always had the thought that you don't need a freaky defensive back room. Usually, you can only pay one cornerback. Guys, just like we were just talking about, cornerbacks get injured, they get banged up all of the time. So versatility and depth is super important. But they're kind of taking that blueprint from, you know, San Francisco. They're taking that blueprint from Kansas City, where you just want to get younger, you want to get more athletic. You don't need to be spending all that much money on the cornerback room. So the Raiders were anticipated to draft a cornerback at least in the second round, or by the second round, but they decided to go to Cameron Richardson later on. So we've talked about Richardson a couple of times. I think he's got great potential. Jakorian Bennett, underwhelming rookie season, but I think he can take that leap. Now, if he doesn't, Jack Jones, Jakorian Bennett, those are 2 slated cornerbacks this year. And then you got Nate Hobbs in the nickel. Adoree Jackson, by the way, there's a bunch of cornerbacks available on the market. Adoree Jackson makes a lot of sense. He's still a free agent. He spent a year under defensive coordinator Patrick Graham's system when they were both in the New York Giants. He's an experienced starter, and I do think he would just at least bring up the level of competition in the cornerback room. Now, Jackson started 36 games over the last 3 seasons, and he did not allow an opponent passer rating above 100 during that span. I think he would walk in and take the starting job, but he would at least push players like Richardson and Bennett to get to that next level. So only 28 years old, and he could be more than just a one-year player, just like Jack Jones, who was acquired when Antonio Pierce came into the helm as your interim head coach in the second half of last season. So I get it. The Raiders aren't perfect. But guys, this is a severely improved Raiders team from second half last year, and they only got better in this year's draft. So give me a confidence rating scale, 1 out of 10, 10 being very confident for the Raiders on paper for this upcoming season. Thank you guys for watching. Hit that like button, hit that sub button, and we'll see you tomorrow.